Hello, hello, hello. Rene Manfre with What's Your Passion? And I think tonight's episode is going to be epic. This is going to be a viral. So I'm looking forward to having my good friend, my partner, Ed Colomb, on with us tonight. And as usual, I have my sidekick, Andy Barker. We call him Doc, basically hosting and driving the ship behind us. So tonight's really just an opportunity where Ed and I have been friends for several years. We met through the past through some business brokering, some different little video poker kind of things we did years ago, and the friendship has gone for almost, I think, going into almost 10 years. And we just have really some exciting things that we've been working on behind the scenes. And I feel tonight's just be a really great opportunity where Ed and I can share some information what we're working on. But more than anything, the information that you're going to hear from Ed and understanding just his story. I mean, he could be a spokesperson for himself. He can have his own TV show. He's just got stories on top of stories. So, Ed, I want to thank you very much for having you on my show tonight. I feel very, very honored.
Yeah, thank you, Renee. It's my pleasure, and the honor's mine. I appreciate you inviting me on.
So I just wanted to share. You have such an incredible story in the background, and I guess and tonight really wanted to start with a little bit about your story, your past. I know you've been in private equity. I know you've built a tremendous amount of truck casinos across the country, in Louisiana mainly throughout the years. You have such a reach and people from all across the country just with me knowing you and having a blessing of being partners with you and our other partners. So just kind of sharing really how did you start in the industry? What did you do before? Where were you born at? And things of that nature. Just kind of give us a little synopsis.
Sure. So I'm from the Ninth Ward in New Orleans, the Bywater, and my mom and dad were from the Bywater. My great grandparents are from the Bywater. They've always been, my family has been merchants. My great grandfather, one was a bay leaf and thyme farmer in the Bywater, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. And so that's on my father's side. My great grandfather, my namesake actually, he was a bay leaf and thyme farmer on the corner of Poland and Claiborne Avenue in New Orleans, which anybody familiar with that, that's not where you would expect to find a farm. But right. I think that was probably around the 1887 or so, Renee.
Interesting.
Yeah. So my grandmother, my dad's mother, her family were the Riches, and the Riches were merchants. So they had a general store, Riche Brothers, and they also had a stand in the French Quarter back when it was the French Market, right? When it was for fresh produce and so forth, not like it is today. And so my grandmother and grandfather met because the two fathers did business together. One grew, well, the other sold. And they actually lived, probably 6 blocks away from each other in the Ninth Ward. The homes are still there, by the way. And I often go back and kind of see where my childhood started because I had a great childhood. You know, the good news about where I grew up, 4314 North Durbany, we grew up on my grandfather's property where he farmed. And his son, my grandfather, bought out his brothers on that property and then subdivided, sold off lots. But we always had a key lot, which, was a big part of a block. And then my grandfather lived on one place and my uncle lived on the other. So as a child, I grew up in a communal environment in the middle of the city of New Orleans. Wow. I think the things that made me the kid I am today is the adult, excuse me, I guess I'm really still a kid, is my grandfather was a mentor for me. My dad was a tad, wonky and a little dysfunctional. My mother drank. And so we had, some problems inside of our roof, but very loving mother and father. My grandfather took me under his wing. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. And so I was just, my grandfather was my guy, man, my best friend. Um,
Mm.
When I was 15, we experienced a lot of family tragedy. My grandmother passed away at 74, which is young for today, but was, she was an old 74. She'd be like 90 now. Okay.
Right.
And then my dad passed away. Not a year later, my father died. I was 15 years old, and my grandfather stepped in, and my brother-in-law, as you know, Rene, I just buried. He stepped in and helped me become, a decent young man. And then my grandfather died. So my life changed between 15 years old and 16. And I often
Wow.
tell people that I saw my dad come out of my house, and I don't want to be morbid, but it's a game changer part of my life, right? I saw my dad come out on a coroner stretcher, and everybody was feeling sorry for me. Poor, as you know, my nickname's Manny, right? And so, poor Manny, and I sat there and made a conscious decision that day that if I could go left and nobody would blame me for being, just kind of a street kid, right? Druggy, just a lost child, or I could focus my life on being something that my father and my grandfather would be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you I've always fulfilled that, which is part of my story. But when I was younger, I joined Drum and Bugle Corps, and I'm proud to say that I reached the top of that activity. I became a drum major of the Garfield Cadets. That's the most rewarded and honored drum corps in the world.
Wow.
I got tapped to be drum major. I was cadet rookie of the year, and I was cadet of the year before I graduated out that drum corps, which was in 1981. So, finished college at UNO, had a lot of fun in school, made a lot of great friends. Got involved in the computer business. I'm giving you the short story compressed. Got involved in the computer business, saw an opportunity to put software that I was selling for $30,000 on this thing called a PC, a Gee Whiz machine, and took the software called ProCat, joined forces with a guy named Bob Bakfa out of LA, and I started my own company at 26 years old.
So you're not allowed to cuss on this show.
Okay. Why? Bakfa is a curse word?
Yeah. I know. It
So,
is to me.
okay. So
I'm kidding.
ex Bakfa, and I'll just call him Bob Smith. So I grew that business into 170 installs between Louisiana and Florida. The business kind of outgrew me because Michael Dell came in. PCs got cheap. I was a VAR, value-added reseller, and a guy named Chris Sale with Copy Products, who used to be in Metairie, was being bought out by Icon Business Systems. They needed a computer division. I knew Chris through the Rotary Club, and Chris said, "Hey, my dad will kind of buy you, and you come to work for us, and we can sell the whole thing to Icon Business Systems." So in 1992, that happened, and I went to work for them, and then immediately realized that that's not where I needed to be. And my brother introduced me to a guy named Frank Reelan, and Frank Reelan became a legendary guy in the video poker industry. Frank took me under his wing. Frank mentored me, and we went on to do great things in video poker business. I had a company called T-Stop Design Build. We designed and built truck stops, a niche builder. And so my job was to find locations, do the economic transactions on the property, and get the thing designed, built, and hand the owner a key at the end of the day. The C-store stocked with inventory, employees hired, and the casino going through licensure to be licensed for video poker. And I did that until Katrina hit New Orleans. My journey after that was odd. So I went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, went through a divorce, spent a year in Myrtle Beach with my daughter, Bailey. So I had my daughter for her sophomore year. And then went from there to Manhattan. From Manhattan, I ended up in Chicago where I met Matt Scales, all video poker related. And we started a company called The Funding Stop, which was an entrepreneurial lender. And our business model was to lend money for everything video poker new entrant in the industry needed to turn on a bar. So stools, bases, machines, money for the vault, anything they needed, turnkey, come to us, we'll lend you the money, and you go from nothing to completely being in business, right? And so our rate was pricey. We raised money on Wall Street. We raised runway money from local guys in Chicago, rich guys, and one rich guy in Dallas. We raised $1.5 million in seed capital, and then we secured a $200 million credit facility from a private equity firm in New York, and then we were too early. We were an early mover in the industry, and the market took forever to come to life. We were running out of runway money, and then the distributors of poker machines got nervous, Rene, and because they didn't think we were going to get to the end of the story. So the manufacturers started offering very cheap financing, and really our proposition died at that moment. But I always maintained the relationship with Matt. As you know, Matt's one of our partners. And so came back from Chicago, re-entered the video poker market. You and I met. We did a deal together. We both earned money on that deal, as we were discussing earlier today. And I think that's what cements relationships, when you take on a project and you actually put money in your wallet, which we did on our first deal together. And wasn't a lot of money, but it was okay money. So I went on to do an advisory in the truck stop space, served one group out of Hammond for 7 years. And so here we are today. I now run company for a family-owned business out of Bell Chase. And we do everything from video poker to credit cards to ATMs to rental properties to running bars to running a bed and breakfast. So that's my day job. And then we're taking on all these these opportunities. So that's my backstory. Part of my story is I'm a recovering alcoholic. I entered rehab 2 years ago, as you know, Rene. I just picked up a 2-year chip from my AA group.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so, you would say to me, maybe what's my passion? Well, it's easy. God, recovery, family, country, business. Because without God, I have no recovery. Without recovery, I have no family. And without country, I have nothing. And then without business, this doesn't happen. Right. So my focus now is God and helping people enter into the recovery world. So I'm proud to serve, my AA group, and I chair groups, and I offer help to anybody that because if I can make it, anybody can make it. And so look, God woke me up in a hotel room on Veterans Boulevard, saved me and put me in rehab. 45 days later, I came out scared with no opportunity, broke because I spent all my money. And so here I sit today on inside of multiple burgeoning opportunities. Without God, none of this would be.
It's incredible. It's like when I think about all the conversations that you and I have on a daily basis, because we talk pretty much every day, and just I feel sometimes it's a blessing. We've gone through, both of us. I think we've gone through a tremendous amount of different ups and downs in businesses. You have all these relationships that we've built through the years. We've always talk about the character and just doing the right thing at the right time. And I think about on a daily basis how much we get, how much we do, and how much we have conversations. Like today was a incredible day with our conference call. Last week, I'm here doing Louisiana Video Gaming Association and met a tremendous amount of people who, a lot of them, they knew you from your years, and then you were in San Diego. And I just keep on thinking about, like you just now said, we have a passion. So when I started this, what's your passion? It's like I have these other things, the lawn care business and these other things, but it's like this is my passion because I like sharing stories of what people just don't understand, that what we all go through, but most people will never know that we go through anything because we're always focused on the end game. And most people they dwell on the problems versus the solutions to the problems. And they talk about all the other problems, which they never get unstuck. And so I know that you and I have these conversations all the time. It's like how we stay so focused. And because of these opportunities that we're just manifesting over the last this past year to 2 years, it's just incredible. So I know you've gone through a lot. And I remember, you and I used to just kind of meet for a couple of cocktails years ago.
Yeah.
And I never knew it was that bad, but I guess.
Yeah. I love drinking. But Renee, I want to step back and say something that I tell people. And I think it's just a very true statement. Nobody knows how hard you work to make it look so easy. Mm-hmm. You can turn the switch on my back and I'll download on anything that I'm inside of a niche. As you know, I'm a niche player. Right. And I'm going to know more than most people in that niche. Because that's what I do. But nobody knows how hard Matt works on research to provide us with information. Dalton works to provide us architectural and conceptual plans. All these things that we do that are significant. Guys, I need to plug my phone in. So it's running a little low. I apologize.
We'll get with HR and we'll have it taken out of your check.
Yeah, Doc.
I got 2 words for you, sir. Who dat?
Who dat? Well, listen. Oh gosh.
I think we lost him.
I have a feeling he'll be right back.
So on that subject note, we're going to go into some things with Ed about our projects and things we've been working on. But again, when you hear the story of what Ed, I mean, you can tell he really just is a book of he's like a dictionary. You can kind of talk to him about anything about Louisiana laws, things of that nature. He pretty much knows so much. But it's just, again, the relationship and friendship that we've been able to maintain. He's taught me so much about different business and different things. And that's where the power of relationships are so impactful in today's time. People don't understand that. The power of friendships, the power of relationships, the power of networking, the power of communication. It's just really, that is what I keep on coming back down to, that has helped myself, and I think so many others, just excel in business, that you have to be connected to people. And when you surround yourself by other great people, you're going to become better because you're constantly sharpening each other, right?
You know, there was a very wise man who had a wise quote. That's the power of love. As a matter of fact, that man was Huey Lewis, and he was the news.
Yeah. Can y'all hear me? Am I back with you guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. I love Huey Lewis, and I also like his news. So Rene, just getting back to where I was, I don't think people know how hard you work to make it look so easy. And our days start early and end late. And you try to fit some time in there for your life and just social. But we have so much to do right now, and we are finally getting to a spot on our entrepreneurial opportunities that we're going to start seeing. We won't see dead presidents yet, but we're going to start seeing the fruition of what we're working on.
Mhm.
So yeah, so pick back up where you were. I apologize for dropping my phone, guys. It's low tech.
No. It's technical.
Yeah.
You
So
mentioned dead presidents. I'm sorry, Renee, I cut you off, sir. Stick around. You might see one here real soon. Just saying.
yeah, yeah. I tell Renee our Finn Park opportunity. We drive dead presidents into parking lots, right?
Right.
Because we have a unique niche. Whatever you want to get to next, Renee, in regard to the opportunities that we're working on. I'm sure you want to talk about Amp Station and Finn Park. You're the director. I'm working for you right now.
Yeah, let's just start with Ed and I about approximately about 2 years ago, a good friend of mine approached me out of town because I used to have I used to be in a health club business up in Arkansas, and a good friend of mine called me out of the blue one day, and we used to do sales together and things of that nature, and it just kind of pitched me on this EV charging, what's going on with the infrastructure and how cars are not being able to be charged, things of that nature. And at the time, I've been working with the car dealership industry for the last 12 years. Had an Allstate insurance agency, so I wasn't really paying too much attention to EVs or EV charging. I've always looked at it from a perspective of buying one or a consumer, but I never really thought about it from a business perspective. So if a good friend of mine passed me on to this, I wind up thinking about Ed the first person because Ed has been, he developed truck stops, and through all of our conversations, this is kind of the first person that came to mind. Maybe let me give him a call. So when I reached out to Ed, and this is about 2 years ago, that it really piqued his interest. He was already kind of looking at this like some years before, and it just really kind of started. I remember on a Sunday morning, I think you called me up like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and I'm in the bathroom. And we're talking about our concept, and then you said about let us bring in maybe Matt Scales, and that's a partner that you knew. I never knew Matt, and then you said about John, which John's an architect. So it's like this team we've developed over the course of the years. It's really just a super powerful consulting group. So Amp Station, if you want to, I don't know if you want to pop up that Andy, if you can kind of share. So when I shared this with you, Ed, kind of tell me what your thoughts were at the time.
Okay.
When I pitched it to you and I gave you a call.
And Renee, let me just mention to you and Doc, I can't see any other screens right now. So I'm not seeing what you're putting up. It could be just the way my phone's operating right now.
Okay. It's just the Amp Station logo right now.
Okay. Well, I can, the quick story on Amp Station, so being in the truck stop space, we were forced to sell fuel, and all my partners or business relationships have been around video poker truck stops. To have a certain amount of machines on, there was a sliding scale of how many gallons you had to sell of fuel to qualify for so many machines. So fuel was always the driver. And it led to bad business decisions, specifically open accounts, which cost a lot of problems because when, the jobber drops fuel off in your tank and you sell it to an individual, you bought that fuel. If you don't collect on an open account, they don't care. You're still paying for that fuel. So, fuel is gone. It goes in a car and it goes down the road, and guess what? 300 miles later, they're on empty, and you can get paid. That inventory is lost forever. So open accounts became a problem, and we kept chatting about it. And then different sorts of fuels were presenting themselves, or vehicles were presenting themselves with different fuel uses. Natural gas, and then of course EVs were populating. We have all this real estate in truck stops, and I said, guys, we need to start looking at EV charging because it's coming, and we have real estate, and we don't sell a lot of, in some spots where we're not selling a lot of fuel, we can take one pump out, put one charging station, and we can get ahead of the game. Fell deaf on their ears, right? So that didn't, but I kept thinking about it. And what I related it to was I can go around to the C-store guys I know, sign a bunch of contracts that are in suspensive condition to come back and place charges. Really what I'm creating is a portfolio of leases of areas to go put charging devices, right? So that was the first approach I took to it. But then the more we started thinking about it and talking about it, Rene, what really hit my head was we need to offer amenities, because now we're learning that it takes 30 to 40 minutes to charge a car and people don't want to sit in their car. And we started doing our homework. And so, first we were going to call it Volt, if you remember. And then we said, let's get amped up at Volt. And then AMP won out as the name of the company because we put it to a partnership vote, and AMP just flowed better. And there was a Volt Coffee, as you know, we tried to get involved, and those guys were not interested in talking to us. So we took AMP and ran with it. So that's the birth of our business. We did a lot of work. So I don't know what, so however you would take the answer.
So if you think about it, so we've talked every Friday for 2 years.
Yes, we have.
So when some people don't understand that when you're starting a business, that even though most people think we're nuts and they haven't really been, well, you're still working on that thing or that idea. And what most people don't understand, that every single business that you see in today's times, it started out with an idea and it took time and years to perfect. And when I look at, what we've done every single day, you and I have had conversations with, numerous amount of people, from legislature to state areas to wealthy people. We pitched some different private equity firms. And it's just been incredible kind of just watching the fruition to where now we're really starting to feel that, hey, we're getting closer with the right people, the right time, and the right locations. If you can flip to maybe the next screen, Andy, I'm not sure if you can change the picture. So that's Ed. So now what's on the screen right now, Ed, if you don't see it, this is our first concept of creating the AMP station over by the airport.
Yeah.
So this is the one that kind of shows 3 different retail locations, coffee shop, Bueno, hot wings. You'll see that you have charging stations, which it has solar power on the canopies. And this is what we kind of started out with as our vision. Our vision was, here cars can come in, they can charge, they can have a nice seating area outside, they can have places where you can go to eat, bathrooms, they can have a nice lighted area. So when we created this concept, Ed, you just kind of share with your thoughts on when you and I think we've kind of gone back and over this.
Yeah. So we got to where we realized AMP Station was a real estate play. And that you had a relationship with the Ballard brothers. And so we said, well, let's make this a multi-purpose facility, get into real estate space, become landlords, rent out tenant space. And then we have drivers of these opportunities like taco, wings, and coffee. And oh, by the way, we charge vehicles too. And that's just a phenomenal concept. And that potentially will be where we end up down the road in the offing. But the reality of our current economic situation came home to roost. Per square foot rentals and commercial is just really depressed right now. Property is still pricey and people are proud of their dirt, especially the property that we need to be on, which are interstates, so we can serve both the local market and the transient market. So we were finding locations that we could cut land deals on, but then we got into the problem of attempting to find tenants to pay a square footage rate that would assist in our model to help us pay our mortgage, our insurance, our labor, all these things, because that became reality also is how much are you even going to earn on a charger, right? So, and then there were other hurdles that people didn't think about, Rene. So the Public Service Commission hadn't approved the sale of kilowatts yet. You can't harness solar and sell it through the charging pedestal. All these things that we were so ignorant and naive of, we learned. So I love this design. I hope this is where we end up building across the country. But as you know, that's a pricey building. That's about a $4 million development, all in, and we just can't turn the numbers to earn enough money to make that a reality at this moment. When the economy changes, then sure, I think that we will build an amp station that looks like our initial concept for certain. That's a beautiful building.
Manny, we have a question in the room, and the question is, what's the average cost of a charging unit installation and the potential hourly net income of a unit?
It's a great question. A level 3 charger sells for about $75,000. A level 3 charger is what a Tesla uses. It's called a rapid charger. You got cheaper models, but the average price is going to run you between 50 and 100 grand for a rapid charger, a fast charger, a level 3 charger. Level 2s run around 15 grand. But you'd be shocked at what it costs to get in the power. So every level 3 charger requires a 400 amp service. So to turn on the power for one level 3 charger, you need to pull in enough power off the grid to power 2 homes at full capacity. Like ACs are on, everything in the house is on, and you are screaming 200 amps of service. That's gets you to about a 150 kilowatt environment. So the level 1 chargers, you can buy them on Amazon for next to nothing. That's what you put at your house. Our space is level 3 chargers. So a common setup for an amp station is about $800 to $1 million for us to put in 5 chargers that are dual, so we can charge 10 cars on 5 chargers, and all the ancillary equipment that is required to make that happen is about $1 million. What can you earn? So there's 2 ways of approaching that question. I'm a gas guy, so I'm from the old school, buy at wholesale, sell at retail. So you buy from the jobber for $1, which would be nice, but keep in mind, just simple head working. Let's say you bought a gallon of gas for $1 from a jobber, and you sell it for $1.15. So you're making a gross margin of 15 cents a gallon in there. So charging is the same way. So you can go to Entergy and buy power for average price 15 cents per kilowatt hour, and you can sell it for what the market will bear. So, if you're using that example of 15 cent per kilowatt hour and you're selling at 65 cent per kilowatt hour, then you're making 50 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, what is an average charger? What does it look like? So for us to do our economics back in a napkin, this is what we figure. One charger, one charger plug. So let's keep it in simple conversation piece that people will understand. One dispenser with 2 nozzles. Okay. So one nozzle hooks to the car. An average charger in a good market, that charger will experience 8 charges per day. So one side of the plug, one side of the dispenser, one nozzle, 8 cars a day, 45 kilowatts per charge is the average. So if you got a dual, you're doing 16 charges per day at 45 kilowatts per hour per charge. at 50 cent per margin per kilowatt hour, you could do the math. So it can be a profitable business, but the barrier of entry to get in is a big price tag, which we can talk about how that's even being managed today.
And so on that, so if you want to switch to the next picture and just kind of see where we are with that, Andy. So that's a glimpse of the AMP station from the front road perspective. This is a location we have close to an airport here in New Orleans. And just like Ed said, when we first started this, we didn't realize that how much to cost one of the machines, the systems. We were playing with the NEVI program. So we started conversations with the state Department of Transportation, Louisiana Clean Fuels, going to events and talking to some of the most higher up individuals who understand this whole process. And it really just started opening up our eyes to that, even though what I call this is a blue ocean. So a blue ocean to me is something that nobody else is in. And sometimes that's scary for some individuals to get in. But for me and Ed, we look at it, hey, this is a perfect opportunity, right? You want to get into things that are blue oceans and things that are just really got to dig in and figure out all the mechanics. So we have been backing up on some areas over the last few months because we're waiting for certain things with political parties and things of that nature to come through. But the conversations have never stopped. So the conversation has still consistently been going over, again, 2 years. We've been working on this project. We have our partner, John Dalton, which Dalton Architects. We have another friend of ours, Matt, that's up in Chicago. So these are just a combination of just consistently having working together. The network of people that just between the four of us is just unbelievable. And so every week we're getting closer and closer. And now over the last couple of weeks, things are popping up potentially in other states, right?
Yeah. Rene, if I could just add, so back to your comment, 2 years. In 2 years, we designed a building. We came up with a business model. We figured out financing. We heard about NEVI, but that's not where we were originally going because we didn't even we don't need a grant. We're just going to build this thing. We're not getting caught up in all that, blah, blah, blah. Right. And that was our approach, as you remember. And then, of course, we opened our aperture to listen to the grant. And so that continued to be in the background. LA DOTD getting their act in order, the NEVI grant coming to closure and fruition, and Shazam, we sit in a webinar with Louisiana DOTD, and they are discussing the draft RFP, which the final RFP drops on 3/31. And when they laid out in this deck, in the slides, I'll be damned if it wasn't an AMP station. Mm-hmm. Exactly what the state of Louisiana is mandating that you need to build to qualify and get the highest score on the scale. To get 100% on the scale, you're building an AMP station. We had no clue that that's where that was going to end up, but I'm very proud that we kept looking at the market, looking at the industry, understanding what people want, constantly looking around, learning, talking to people all over the country. And we partnered with Blink, one of the largest charging companies, pedestal providers in the country. Right. They cut the largest deal with the United States Post Office. Their stock just went up 30%. That's our partners. They are our partners in this project now. And Blink, a publicly traded company, and so AMP Station and Blink are working in a venture now to build an AMP station, hopefully in Jennings, Louisiana. So 2 years of banging your head against the wall, but making progress. And in the last 2 months, this has all come together to this one defining moment where we have a chance to win a grant. And I think that we have one of the best chances because our project and our definition of what it should look like is exactly what they're asking for. I just wanted to put that in there, Rene, because that's a significant event in the life history of our company. So, I
think again, on all the conversations that we're having, it's again the consistency that we've done, the power of just the difference of of so much, I guess, information that each one of us have, the power of the partnership that we've created. So when I looked at this, I've always told everyone in my life that it's not so much me that I've been able to do certain things. It's because of the people that I've always learned that I'm not great at everything. I'm good at certain things, and I have a work ethic that nobody really has. So very few people, except for Ed and a few of us. And so, but I always learned that if I can just connect with the right people, you can make anything come true. And that's really what the power of our relationships has come from, because each one of us brings so much value to our team and to our conversations, into the relationships that we're building. And that's really what I find that most people just really don't understand about business. That majority of people is not that one person's better than the other. It's just that person put together the deal team, the best team. And that's what I always say about our team, is just I'm always fired up every day because I know I have the right partners, the right team, and the right information, the right individuals around me. So it's just been incredible. I know we have some questions on here, and we'll get into a little bit faster. So so I have Daryl asking, do you guys think the EV movement will die out because of the amount of drain it'll put on current electrical infrastructure and changes in White House residents? Or do you think it'll eventually replace gas? If so, what's the actual environmental impact of that? What's your thoughts on that?
So let's unpack that question, right? That's a lot of questions in one question. The grid will never support what we're attempting to do today. So we are a first mover. But ultimately, we're going to get to an EV marketplace that will be 30%, 40% of the cars on the road that will be EVs. California has a push to be 2035, but California can't even support their current grid needs. They have brownouts and rolling blackouts all through the state, as we have heard on the news, but they have a forced march. That's politics, to be honest with you. That's not reality. I spent some time in California just recently, and this is a big subject. And folks in the industry know that that's a great goal. You might achieve 30% of that, 40% of that, but that's never going to be 100%. So the grid needs to grow up and needs a very robust ability to support the power. So one full-blown EV stations serving cars throughout the day, like a gas station serves combustible engines, that takes the power of a combined power drain on the grid of a Walmart. Right. So you're not building Walmarts on every corner, my friend. So the grid needs a lot of work. It'll come around. The impact on the environment, it takes coal or natural gas, or you got to burn some fossil fuel to make electricity until nuclear is more accepted and hydrogen comes around, and fusion. So I think as fusion comes and becomes the gee whiz new toy, which it will, because fusion is now working. The last time they tried the test, they made more energy than it took to make energy. So fusion now is going to be something that's coming in the future. And I know y'all want to get to FinPark. So my last comment would be, yes, I think that this current administration has made this such a political hot potato that EVs, which are awesome, and we need to move to a big segment in our market, but it is a political hot potato, a blue and red issue. I'm an independent kind of guy, an independent voter. I'm pro EV. I want to see this happen, but it needs to be done in a very systematic approach, logically, and not with a party attached to it or a political bias. That's my comment.
So let's just, so we're gonna because we're running out of time. It's amazing how fast time goes. So before we'll come back on that with Am Station, we can answer questions another time. But we want to get on one other project that Ed has been working on for quite some time, and I've been able to come into this project with him. Also, I do a lot of traveling on the interstate, so I started seeing this problem as Ed was sharing with me this opportunity with FinPark. So this is a truck parking concept of basically supporting truckers that are on the road and they have to have parking. And when Ed brought this to my attention, as I'm driving across different states, because I deal with transportation for boat companies, I started noticing all these different empty parking spots that could be potential. So kind of, Ed, just share with us Finn Park, and you know more about Finn Park and really the issues that the truckers are having. So kind of share with me where we are with this project. And
I can cover it real quick. So I'm sounding like the guy who bought the guy Robert Kraft with the New England Patriot, or the guy that had him before Gillette Stadium. You know, he liked the razor blade so much he bought the company. I was doing advisory on 9 truck stops with some guys out of Hammond, which I mentioned before. We acquired a truck stop in Avondale, Louisiana. That was a big property, 14 acres. It has 120 parking spots, and that parking lot was nothing but a nightmare. Truck stop parking lots have their own mayors, their own police force. They'll take control and they will destroy your property, change tires, change oil, do service. They think they own it. We decided, and remember where we started, video poker is connected to fuel. Okay. So you would say, okay, if you fill up with us, you can get a free parking spot. Let me tell you what that's a RICO, a crime, right? Because it's an organized crime. What happens is the guy doesn't buy fuel. He tips the cashier in the fuel desk $20 and goes down the road and buys fuel from Racetrack or a cheaper spot. And then he comes back and parks with us. He never bought fuel. He litters in our lot and he creates, and remember, we're paying rent or mortgage, insurance, taxes, lighting the lot. We're paying all that cost and we're getting zero benefit. In fact, we're getting nightmares. So we made a decision to kick them all out. And we don't care if you buy fuel from us. It doesn't matter, okay? Because you're going to come back and buy fuel from us anyway. We're not silly. So we kicked them all out. And then we turned the lot in we monetized our lot. And we said, you have to pay $200 a month to park here. And you can park your car at the spot, but we're numbering spots. You're going to get a decal and you're going to pay to park. Because guess what? It's posted. And if you don't pay, we'll give you a warning. But if you don't pay again, we're towing you out. It took about 5 tows till they realized that we were serious. Wow. So and then along the way, we were like, how can we attract guys over the road? And so I did some homework and found a guy named Anthony Petwee. And we connected immediately because I lived in Chicago for 4 years and he's from Chicago. And so immediately we had commonalities, common conversation. We started using a very juvenile, simple app called truckpark.com. But it did something for us. It gave us a presence on a platform that drivers across the country knew we existed. It also allowed us to manage our parking lot by using his cash register, and we paid him a fee for such, right? We turned that parking lot from a loss of $2,000, $3,000 a month. You'd say, how is that? Well, you add up all your business operational costs, plus you're hauling tires out of there, okay, which are expensive to get tied and chummed and put in the waste. That's expensive. That spot went from a $2,000, $3,000 a month loss on an annualized basis to a $15,000 to $17,000 profit position within 6 months. And I knew at that moment we had a winner. I went on to do other things. And then I brought up this idea with Matt Scales about truck parking. We got involved with another company that ended up not being the right choice. And I called up Anthony and said, hey, you know what you got going on? And he said, man, my non-compete's over. I can get back into business. We're starting Finn Park. I said, we're in. So we got involved with Finn Park as a marketing arm. We cover all states and Canada. We're on Apple. We're on Google. We have about 5,000 downloads. Currently, we have 321 parking lots on our platform. And remember, our app's only about 6 months old, and we really started pushing about 90 days ago, really. So we have 22,000 parking spots under management currently nationwide, and we're growing every day. And so Finn Park is for folks just listening, FinPark is Airbnb or Expedia for truck drivers. We are a marketplace. Our marketplace is drivers and lots. We sit in the middle and we sign up lots. We put them on our platform. They profile their lot and we advertise them on our platform. Our drivers download our app and they can, on the fly, reserve a spot, know that they come into a spot that is reserved for them to spend 12, 24, 36 hours. They pay in advance. We pay the parking lot owner through our software. And then it's a win-win proposition for drivers who, two things are on their mind. 88% of drivers are stressed out about finding parking. There's one parking spot for every 11 trucks crossing America today. That's a fact. The other thing is safety. There's a thing called Jason's Law. That's a long story, but there was a guy, Jason Rasenberg, who got killed for $7 on his truck, parked behind a gas station. A vagrant saw $7 on his dashboard, broke in his cab. The guy was in his cab. He killed the guy for $7. That became a nationwide push for safe, secure parking. So that brings us to where we are today, and that is that we arrange these parking spots for a driver. They can only drive 14 hours a day. They need to be off the road in 14 hours or they pay a big fine. So our 12 or 13, they can either be searching for parking, one spot for every 11 trucks, or they can have a safe spot reserved on our app where they know to go and using geofencing and geodirectional. They pull right into the lot. They pull right to their spot. They shut their engine down and they now go enjoy whatever amenities that particular truck stop offers them, food, shower, casino gaming, whatever the amenities may be at the truck spot. So FinPark is Expedia for truck drivers.
.com.
So that's what we do.
It really is. It really has been a very exciting venture and learning about this. And again, I wasn't really paying attention to it, even though I've been driving for 12 years. We started this boat company, transportation, crew change, and I think I've been on every part of the interstates and highways, but I never thought about it from the truck market until Ed brought this up to me, and all of a sudden, it's kind of like when somebody tells you, kind of start looking for something. I started looking, and so I think we've gotten some new accounts signed up through that. And
we do.
This past week, he was in California, and I think you were asked to be on a panel with
Yes.
some very high intellectual people, and made some great connections. Is that correct?
Yes. So I was invited to sit on a panel. A transportation panel. Okay, I spent 4 years in Oklahoma working with tribes to do casino deals. But tribes now, there's only so many players and so many slot machines. It's really, and it's fun. I don't drink anymore. I don't smoke anymore. I don't gamble, and tribes need other opportunities, right? So our goal in that panel was to say, let's sit back and talk about how we can bring transportation into your sweet spot. Parking, because you got a lot of land. There's 109 tribes in California. A majority of them are on I-5, as you heard today, Rene. A lot of them have property, and they're looking for revenue drivers outside of gaming. So that's our FinPark proposition. And let's go park in your lots, and let's talk to you about building truck parking lots as well. And then the other guys were speaking about premier parking for player rewards, premier parking, and then Shazam, there's a guy on there talking about EV charging. So in that one moment, for me to go out there and network, we opened California for FinPark, and now we're going to have a conversation tomorrow with a gentleman that is wired and tapped into developing EV charging stations in California. And we're going to now have a conversation about a co-venture with this gentleman to spread our Amp Station brand into California. So phenomenal networking moment. 3 days of nothing but travel, 1 day to take a break, but I spent most of my time in the air to get there, but well worth it. And I would do it again in a heartbeat, Rene. But yeah, so that was our panel, and yes, I was an invited guest as a guest speaker. Quite a compliment for a guy that had 2 years ago was finding his way out of rehab. So God works wonders, brother.
Can I just say, Manny, correct?
Yes.
I take my hat off to you, man.
Thank you.
I haven't had a drink in 3 years. So
Congratulations.
I know what you're going through. I know the struggles.
Yep.
So great job, brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I have a great sponsor. I have a great home group. I've got folks that are in recovery that you would never think about. I didn't know they were, but they have presented themselves to me, and they're from doctors to lawyers to judges. I mean, across the board. And as you know, Doc, that community is very tight knit, and we protect our young. And I had a friend die yesterday of cancer, and I lost a friend yesterday of an overdose. I lost 2 guys in one day.
Sorry to hear that, man.
And we can't save them all, but you know what? That's a personal story for Rene. He can share a story if he desires, but my desire, I don't want to lose friends anymore to this disease. I've lost 40 pounds. I ran 8 miles Sunday. So, man, my job now is just to spread this to other people, because I don't deserve to hold this and hold this to myself. That's not my job. My job is to tell other people, look at this look at this guy who has done everything wrong for a long time. And if I can do it, my God, you can do it 5 times better than me.
Right.
But if you just get to where I am, that's not a bad place to be. Wake up sober.
You had me right up to the point of the running.
Listen, I want to say something about Rene and I and our group. We check our egos at the door, or you don't come into our room. We check our egos at the door. People who live ego lives, they don't fit well with us.
Right.
Because we take down our egos and we humble ourselves. And I want to hear everything John Dalton knows. I want to talk to Rene every day to hear what he knows. And I want to talk to Matt Scales every day, although Matt is hard to get in touch with. That's an inside joke, by the way. But if I check my ego at the door, man, what I am going to accomplish in the next 20 years of my life is going to be phenomenal. And I could always be an ego guy and say, hey, I had one of the largest design build firms in the city, in the state. I was one of the largest niche builders in the southeastern United States. You know what, man? I'm broke.
Right.
So guess what? I checked my ego at the door when I walked into Avenues Recovery. But God's smiling on me, and it ain't about money. I don't make money.
I'll tell you a little story. So last night I had to go to Home Depot just to get some keys made. So I give the guy my keys, and I guess he just asked me, so what do you do? And I just told him, I have a lawn care business, and I do business consulting, etc. And so I just asked him, so what do you do anything else besides work here at Home Depot? And he said, yeah, actually I have a partnership with a friend of mine, and we started out doing vending machines. And over the course of the last few years, he's developed this to where they were making $500 a week. Now they're making $5,000 a week.
Wow.
With vending machines, right?
Wow.
And so that here's a prime story that you never know who you're going to talk to. And here's a young gentleman. He's working at Home Depot. He's got a side business. He's trying to make himself better. I asked him, if you don't mind, let me get your number. Let's stay in touch. Maybe you and I can work together on some things, right? So
right.
The ego thing, like you're saying, I think sometimes these individuals just forget that never think that somebody else around you that it may not be on the level that you are. They don't have ideas or things that can bring to the table. And that's where between us, we say that all the time. We know a lot of people. We have an incredible amount of information between us. We've done several different businesses, successes and failures, and we just striving to where by giving back and opening to other individuals, and not really closing that door, like Ed said, it just gives you the opportunity where you're really giving back. And the stories like, between y'all. So I lost my brother this past year, and I didn't realize how bad the disease of depression, alcoholism, all this was, because I wasn't paying attention. Even though I'm part of a nonprofit organization giving hope, and I'm listening and I'm watching, but it wasn't really in my family until this past year. And so that hits me every day that there's so many people that are out there that are looking for support. They're looking for help, but sometimes they don't know how to ask, or they don't feel that other people like us go through these problems, right? I tell everyone I go through problems every day. Don't think I'm never depressed, but I just work my butt off through the depression, right? So whenever you get down, I find people they stay in that little quicksand, but you just have to keep on looking at the vision of where you could be and surround yourself by great people who are going to help you get out of that sand. So that's just my little 2 cents on that.
Gentlemen, that noise signals that the score is tied and we're going into overtime.
Yeah, there you go. Rene,
anything else you want to say, Ed? I mean, I appreciate your time tonight.
I'm here to help anybody. As I said, but business is my recovery, and so anybody that ever needs help or someone to talk to, I'm more about that than work. Because let me tell you something. There's no way we're not going to finish what we started.
Right.
You know me well enough that when I say that to you, that's true. Right.
Yep.
So that's all going to come, bro.
I would like.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. If you have a few minutes, sir.
Yeah.
I read the question that was in the room that we didn't get to, and it's kind of a good question. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay.
Once again, it's from Daryl, and he says, "What level of accuracy is there in the constant claims of battery material mining being more detrimental to the environment and child slave labor being used?" He's seen a bunch of things on both sides of the argument.
Above my pay grade, I think child labor is being used. I think that's hard. That is people that have no soul. I think we as a nation are hypocrites to want to talk about doing all these good things with the environment, but we're killing kids that are mining, these materials needed to produce batteries. My hope and prayer is that we can get to a situation where that's not needed and necessary. But here's the thing, man. And I appreciate Daryl's question. That's a great question. But there are just some parts of the world where you're not going to fix that. And no one should ever turn a blind eye to another's suffering. But there are some parts of the world that we just can't go fix all the things that are going on. So, do we abandon this? No, we try to bring this home to the United States where that sort of labor is not being used, and slaves are not being used to do that. But that's over my pay grade. That's way above it. I'm hoping that could stop, but I'm optimistic, but I'm pessimistic because I don't think that kind of labor is ever going to stop. I mean, the Chinese enslave people every day,
right?
And but we seem to turn a blind eye to that, don't we? So I'd stay out of politics. Yeah. But Daryl, thanks for the question, and that's very insightful because I can see where your heart is on that.
I'm just going to go on the record here, and I know Daryl, and I want to know who's feeding him these questions. That's what I want to know.
So I know I'm part of another company that's they're a more of a clean fuel energy mining. So you have a lot of things are happening behind the scenes that companies like these are popping up to where they're looking to solve the issue. But like Ed said, there's a lot of things in this world we can't solve. All we can do is try to create positive. And that's what I focus on a daily basis, that I try to connect and focus on things that I can control, because I can't control the political. I can't control certain individuals who choose to do evil. I can't control the individuals who are just idiots, right? So I'm very passionate about that because I can't control certain things in this world and these people. All I can control is my world. So with that said, Daryl, that I do appreciate it, and believe me, we don't like to see these things, but I do see good things happening. I am part of some individuals that are doing some good things and trying to create some kind of positive energy towards that. But there's so many different communication or just information out there. We just can't answer at this point. But every day we're trying to do our best to just solve what we feel is a solution to some of the problems. And next year to 2, 3, 4, 5 years, hopefully we can see everything that we're working on today becoming to fruition, which we know is right there in the very horizon. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. What you got, Ed?
My closing comment is this about control. There's only one thing I can control in this world. One thing, Mr. Colomb.
Right.
That's it. So as long as I'm controlling myself and doing the best I can do and having the mindset that I have, I think the world will be a better place. But I can only control me.
Correct.
That's it for me.
Well, guys, I want to appreciate everyone coming on tonight. I think tonight was a very, very special night. I'm going to have Ed on with future events, and we're going to talk about more things that we're working on over the next few months. And again, Andy, I want to thank you. Thank you to guests, Daryl, Blaine, and so many others that are on this. I know the podcast, What's Your Passion podcast, is growing each week. We're doing it. We have a different guest on every week. I try to bring as much value as I possibly can between myself and the connection of the network of people that's in my life, that I hope that can help some of you impact your life in some way, shape, or form. Subscribe to our channel, ring the bell, help us kind of grow, and just share these different podcasts, if you don't mind, so we can get the word out there. And I'm always looking for really good guests that just want to share their story and bring anything of value to our podcast. Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.